you go with handling difficult people? Do you find it easy? Do you find it challenging? If you're anything like me, I find it pretty challenging, and if that's you, then this video is for you. Because we're going to talk about how you can do one thing that will help you better handle the difficult people in your life. If you're new here on the channel, my name is Chris, and I'm so excited that you would stop by. In the last couple of videos, we've been talking about this one word, grace. And a few videos ago, we talked about like what grace is. Then in the last video that came out, Jason spoke about the Christmas equation. But in this video, I want to tell you what grace has to do and how it can impact your relationship with others. Because the reality is, we all have to deal with difficult people at Christmas. And not just Christmas. In fact, if you're watching this video after Christmas, you know that difficult people still exist all the time. But it just seems like at Christmas, there's more difficult people to deal with. You know, like car parks turn into Royal Rumble venues, shopping center aisles turn into football matches, and retail workers. You don't even need me to tell you how difficult people can be at Christmas, right? And sometimes we even have to deal with difficult people we love at Christmas. Christmas is one of those times of the year where we have to extend a lot of grace to others. And if we're honest as well, others have to extend a lot of grace to us. You see, grace is that thing that allows difficult people to work together without getting mad at each other. Grace is the thing that allows us to overlook the challenges or the difficulties that we might see in other people. And this is especially cool if you're a Jesus follower, because grace, or extending grace to others, is the biggest opportunity we have to be like Jesus, but it's also one of the most challenging things to do. And thankfully, Jesus doesn't leave us guessing how to do that. He actually lets us know. And he does this by asking us a question. And the question is, why do you try to get the speck of sawdust out of your brother, your sister, your mother-in-law, your father-in-law, your weird uncle's eye when you have a plank in your own? And if you're anything like me, honestly, I hear that, and the first thought that comes into my mind is, it's not a speck in their eye, Jesus. Like, it's a big deal. Like, they treated me that way, or they said this thing, or if you were at the last family Christmas, you would know why. It's not just a speck of sawdust. And the other thing that I kind of push back with when Jesus asks this question is, Jesus, if I'm honest, I don't have a plank in my eye. Like, just between me and you, Jesus. Like, other people, they have planks in their eyes, but not me. Like, I see the world clearly. And Jesus, he's kind of like, well, I don't know if that's entirely true, because he goes, how can you tell someone else to deal with the speck in their own eye when you actually have a plank in your eye? And then he says something to all the Jesus followers that if you're not a Jesus follower, you'll love the fact he says this. He says, you hypocrite. He says, you hypocrite. First take the plank out of your own eye. And the reason Jesus says this is because it's only when we remove the plank that's in our own eye that we can see other people more clearly. And when we see other people more clearly, we are more readily able to extend grace to them. Because the reality is, planks get in the way of grace. So you can try to be nicer, you can try to be kinder, you can try to be more patient, but at the end of the day, Jesus doesn't want you to be nicer or kinder or more patient, because that's all about you. Jesus says, no, what I want you to do first is remove the plank from your own eye, and then once you've dealt with your own stuff, you'll be better able to extend grace to others. And if you're like, well, how would I even begin to do that? So let me ask you a really unsettling question. What planks are getting in the way of you extending grace? What are those behaviors or those things that well up inside of you when you get around other people and then they spill out? What are the things that cause you to say to yourself, I don't know where that came from? Because those are the things that get in the way of extending grace. And it's easy to write them off and say, oh, I just don't know where that came from, so it mustn't have been a one-off. But the reality is, if it comes out of you, it's got to come from within you to begin with. And if you're a Jesus follower, this is even more important for us to get a hold of, because the church is most appealing when grace is most apparent. If you've ever had a conversation with your friend or your neighbor or someone you work with or someone at uni or school, and it's gone towards the fact that you go to church or you're a Jesus follower, and then you extend an invitation, hey, check this video out, hey, come along to church, and they've resisted, I guarantee you that the reason they resist has nothing to do with what Jesus talked about in the 4 biographical accounts we have of his life. But I guarantee you, there is probably a really high chance that the reason that they resist is because of the way in which they were treated by one of his followers, or an interaction they had with one of his followers. And that's good news for you and for me, because what we've been talking about in the last few videos, this idea of grace, is that the church becomes so appealing when grace is most apparent. So, would you be willing to remove the things that get in the way of you extending grace to someone this Christmas? Because, and this is no exaggeration, doing that could literally change someone's life. Grace really is, relationally speaking, the unsettling solution to just about everything. Jesus was all grace and all truth, and he extended grace to people who were nothing like him. And then he invited those people like me and you to extend grace to people who were nothing like us. Not because other people deserve it, but because that grace has first been extended to them. So this Christmas, let's give people the gift that they haven't earned and they don't necessarily deserve. Let's give them grace. Because grace, when it's extended to others, truly is amazing. And it really is the unsettling solution for just about everything. I thank you so much for checking out this video. Give it a like, subscribe, and we would love to connect with you in person in the new year. And you can find out everything about that in the link in the description below. Merry Christmas.